What's going on, guys? It's Andy with the Blue Collar Builders channel. This is the place where we talk about blue collar business ideas, tips, tactics, and tools to help you make more money, find more opportunities, and ultimately to do what you want and live a happy life. So today I have a really fun, cool idea for you. It's a business idea. Came from a podcast that I listened to, and as I'd done some more research, had found that this is actually a real thing. And yes, you probably read the title. It is a pooper scooper business. And yes, people are making pretty good money walking around picking up people's dog poop and then turning around and charging them to do it. So wanted to kind of talk through the business with you all a little bit. It's basically what it sounds like. So obviously animals are a huge trend, especially in 2020, and people are more and more resistant to going out and picking up their dog's poop, and so that creates an opportunity for you to step in and volunteer, or actually not volunteer because you're not going to do it for free, but to step in and take care of that for them. And so kind of here's how the business works. Every business solves a problem, and the problem is that people do not want to pick up their dog's poop. Therefore, you step in and you solve the problem for them by picking it up. Pretty simple. It's like any business. What I would recommend is get started. If you make a few bucks, then go ahead and set up your legal entity. Super simple. And then grow it into whatever you want. If you want it to be a side hustle, if you want it to be a full-time job. There are people who are making $50 an hour on the side. There are also a handful of people who have teams of pooper scoopers, and they are literally making well over 100,000 and beyond a year doing this business. So there's really cool opportunity, and as we get further away from blue collar work, the opportunity becomes greater for you to capitalize on this. So wanted to kind of talk through in depth, if I were looking at this business, how I would approach marketing it and getting it started. So the first thing I would recommend is an absolute essential is that you need a cell phone. You need some way to be contacted. The other thing I would say is you probably want to have some type of name for the business, and then you want to pick a target area. I think it's probably a great idea to pick the area that you live in. And so here's kind of an idea of what I would do if I were walking through kind of the marketing of this business. And so the first thing, also, before I get started, I basically built out a full business plan for this business. Send me an email at andy@garrett, GARRETTEX.com, andy@garrettex.com, and I'll send you over the full business plan. It has all the details in it, and if this is something you want to do, you can execute it, or you can just look at it and file it away for something down the road too. But here's how I would get started. So the first thing I would do is I would first start by doing research on other pooper scoopers, either in my market or in other cities. And here's what that would look like. I would go on Google and I would search pet waste removal in my city. The formal term is not pooper scooper, it's pet waste removal, which is kind of funny to me. So for me, pet waste removal, Cincinnati, Google, look up their social pages. So take a look at their Facebook, their Google My Business, take a look at their Instagram, if they have a YouTube channel, look at all of that stuff. Get a feel for what they're doing, get an idea of how they're pricing, get an idea for how they're marketing, get an idea for what their branding looks like, the language that they look like, the pictures that they post. All of this stuff is really valuable as you start building your profile for your business. The next thing is I would give them a call. So I would call them as if I were a potential customer for them, and I would ask them questions. I would say, how does your pricing work? I would ask them details around that and get a feel for, do they charge by the acre? Do they charge by the place of the land? Is the front yard and the flower bed different than the backyard and the deck area? I don't know. Hopefully dogs aren't pooping on their deck or animals aren't pooping on the deck. But if they are, you better be there to pick it up, because that's an obvious place if you miss it. So how does that work? Do they service year round? I think that's a really important question, especially in cold cities where it might snow. Is that something that's still of interest? What if they have multiple animals? Do you charge multiple, or do you charge extra if they have 2 or 3 dogs as opposed to 1? Or this could be cats too. So it could be any outdoor animal, except, well, if they have like, you know, rabbits and deer, you're probably not gonna be picking that up, but maybe they want you to, who knows? There's great opportunity here. The next question I would ask is, you know, what do you do with your waste? So from podcasts and things that I've read, a lot of people will take them to a dump site, and with that, there's a small fee. And so you start building this portfolio of knowledge that helps you better understand what your risk is and helps you better understand, you know, what this is going to take to actually jump in and start making some money doing it. The next thing I would do with this, once I've connected, I have an idea of what the business is going to look like, what the business is going to take, and how I'm going to execute it, then I would start sharing it with my friends. So if you're having face-to-face conversations with people, I would bring it up in conversation. And if they say, you know, what have you been up to? You say, well, I've actually been working on starting this pet waste removal business. Maybe if they're friends, you can say pooper scooper, because that has a little bit of a lasting zing to it. But I would tell them, and I would say, this is kind of my plan, and there are other businesses around town or in other cities that are doing this, and I think that our city needs it, and I think that our town needs it, and I think that I can make a few extra dollars doing it. So that's the first thing I would do. Then I would tell people on my social media profiles, so Facebook, Instagram, if you have TikTok or YouTube, I would tell everybody. I mean, it doesn't hurt. The worst thing, it's like I used to tell my friend who used to get nervous about asking girls out, I would say the worst thing that she could say is no, and you're in the same position that you were, or that you currently are. And so it's the same thing here. You tell people, and if they don't want your service, it's not a big deal. There's nothing embarrassing about that, because the reality is that somebody's probably going to want it. They're gonna think, yeah, I hate going out, and I hate dealing with poop in our backyard, or I hate stepping in it because we never pick it up. And there you go. There's a great opportunity for you. So the next thing I would do after I make it known to my friends, hopefully you land maybe you know, a friend who's like, yeah, I actually want that. Hopefully you can land a job or a gig with them. What I would say is, on these first couple ones, either do it for free and say, hey, I want you to write a testimonial for me, or can I take pictures of your backyard so I can use them for promotion? I would do that. If you want to charge, I would say go for it, but you don't have to on these if you don't feel confident in your process and you don't feel confident in what you're doing yet. For some people, that just makes this a little bit easier to get started. Next thing I would do is post in your local buy-sell groups. I've actually seen this strategy and heard this strategy on a podcast, and apparently the girl, when she was talking about this, when she did it, she actually got over inundated with phone calls to the point where she basically had to tell people like, hey, I have a waiting list now, and so it's gonna be a few weeks before I can get out and give you an estimate on what this is gonna take. So be careful with that. Maybe, you know, don't post in 30 different groups like she did. Maybe post in a few and kind of ride it out a little bit before you really ramp that up. The next thing is in those buy-sell groups, or even on your for your friends, one of the things that I'd recommend is really pushing into the pain point for them, and just start by asking, you know, do you like picking up dog poop, or do you like picking up your animal's poop? Nobody's gonna say yes. Nobody's gonna say yes. I wake up every morning and I would love to do that, except for maybe you, because now you know there's an opportunity. But nobody's gonna wake up who owns a pet and say, yes, I cannot wait to pick up the dog poop today. Nobody's gonna say that. So you're pushing in on a pain point, and then you're providing a solution. So start with that, and then offer your solution, obviously. And then everywhere you post, make sure you give them a way to contact you via email. I would recommend phone, because it's just easier to call or to text. It's quicker for you, and it's more it's simpler for them as well. So once you've exhausted those, and at this point you probably should have a client or two. And what I would recommend is get them signed up on a weekly or a monthly basis. And like I said, when I send you this business review, it'll have all these details in here for you. So you'll know exactly kind of how the process works, and you'll know, hey, we need to be charging and sending invoices on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis. I'll cover all that in the plan. But once you get one of these clients, you're gonna lock them down on a recurring payment. So it might be $30 a week, or it might be, you might book them for $100 a month, or I don't know exactly what your pricing will be in your town, but I do know that in some towns people are getting that type of payment for this service. So the next thing I would do with this is I would go to local pet stores, and a really simple thing to do is take them some cookies or take them some donuts and say, hey, I brought these, wanted to see if maybe I could leave a set of business cards up at the front of the desk here, and then talk to them, get to know the person at the front of the store and ask them, hey, would you be willing to recommend this to people who are leaving the store, or is there a better place I can put them in the store that customers might see this? I would love to work with some of the customers who are coming in and buying from you all. I think we have a similar service. I think that's a really obvious place. Go where your customers are and provide a service that solves their needs. The next thing is, you can go into local blogs, and so connecting with mom blogs. I mean, the reality is that mom who's at home, who is taking care of the dogs, is probably the one picking it up. If she doesn't get to it, then obviously, dad or the kids are getting to it. But the reality is that mom's probably spending some time cleaning up some poop as well. And this is a great place from local mom blogs or any local type of blog for you to find an opportunity to get your service in. And what I would recommend on that is email the editor and just say, hey, I have a new service in town. We're trying to get some reach. Would love for you just to do a profile of our business and maybe share my story a little bit. What I would say is they will most likely follow up with advertising. Just say, hey, no, I think I have a cool story. I'd love to share it with you. And then just share your story, which everybody's story is really special in its own way. So I encourage you to do that. And the last thing I would say, I do have some additional ideas that I can provide. If you need more than this, happy to provide them. But the last one that I would say isn't obvious, but is not my favorite, is to do yard signs. So you can post yard signs in a really small area, maybe a 2-mile radius around where you live. And I think this is really important. Posting or putting signs and marketing in a very tight area around where you live is going to help you ultimately make more money, because if you have 5 houses who are back to back to back to back to back, you might be able to knock out 5 houses in an hour, and obviously that's going to be more profitable than if you're driving across town to various different, and you have drive time through all of those different stops. So it's just another thing to consider, is you probably want to market closely. So yard signs are a great way to do that, because you can put them in a local area, and then you can just bang, 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 put 50 yard signs within a 2-mile radius, and I guarantee you will get some calls if you do that. Like I said, I do have some more ideas for you. If you want to get them, send me an email, andy@garrettex.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments, or honestly, send me an email too. I want to help you. I want to help you find an opportunity or an idea that makes you some money and is also rewarding and fun for you too. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email, comment below. And if you like this channel, would also invite you to subscribe. We're going to be posting a video here once a week, and it is what I said at the beginning of the show here is the show. It's not a show. This isn't like a trivia show. But what I said at the beginning of the video here is we're going to be providing ideas, tips, tools, tactics to help you grow your business and make more money, and ultimately find the happiness and freedom that you want in your life. So yeah, stay tuned, and let me know if you have any questions. We'll see you next week.